I feel like this is like a buzzword nowadays, right? When I was a resident, people would talk about burnout, and then now I think that term is mainstream because I think nobody wants to work, kind of thing. That may sound bad, but I'm like, trust me, every single day I reach a burnout, without a doubt. Like yesterday, for example, so I worked a 24-hour shift on Wednesday into Thursday, and I'm working a 24-hour shift today into Saturday. So that right there alone is 48 hours from Wednesday to Saturday morning of work. However, then post-call, yesterday I worked all day helping my wife with our businesses. Like, you better believe and I had to take my son to the physician because I have that whole piece. So you better believe that yesterday I was experiencing what I think anybody would describe as burnout. And I think as a resident, you experience that because you're here, you're working 80 hours a week, okay? And you're making $60K. And I always joked around, because it was true, is that when I was a resident, how I was getting paid, I wasn't even making that much, is that every day after taxes, every day I was alive, I got handed a $100 bill. I would basically get a bi-weekly paycheck for $1,500. So every day for 14 days, I got handed $100. Whether I was on a 24-hour shift, whether I was post-call, whether I had one of my 4 weeks of vacation, I got $100. So I think what goes into burnout that maybe people don't explain or relate to, I think, because if you're seeing a financial reward for your hard work, I think it's less common for somebody to say like, oh, I'm experiencing burnout, because you're seeing that reward. It's really hard as a resident because there's no financial reward immediately. Now, granted, then you become an attending and you're going to make a decent paycheck, don't get me wrong. But I think the term burnout really encompasses somebody who's working, not even just in medicine, like a resident, somebody who's working and not feeling like they're getting like the fruits of their labor. I think that is where this is coming from. And I think it's more common today that people are using this because I think people aren't finding like much meaning in what they do, which this is my comparison always. I'm like, if the zombie apocalypse happens, I know that I'm safe because when everybody's like killing everybody and eating each other, I'll just go, I'm a trauma surgeon, and they'll go, okay, keep him. Because he's like, useful. Yeah, keep him. And don't hurt my family either. Because at the end of the day, money is becoming more and more not tangible and real. We're in that situation, obviously, with like cryptocurrencies, and it's paper at the end of the day, and you're just relying on an institution. Really, is institutional backing is what money is, and it is a vehicle to do things and buy things and purchase things. But again, when it all falls apart, it's like, what do you have as a skill set? And I say this over and over and over again. That's why I'm always like, you should be a trauma surgeon or a surgeon. Because again, for me, it's a trade, it's a craft, it's a skill. It's not like money can't buy it. And if literally someone comes in, it's like, how much is your leg worth to you? How much is your life worth to you, right? And it's priceless, you know? And so having a priceless skill set to offer other human beings, to me, is super cool. And so burnout in residency is brutal, but at least you're like, I'm developing a very unique skill set and craft, and then you have a big save, and it really like I'm coming off like a shift from the weekend where I worked another 24-hour, and I'm like, I had some really crazy stuff and like good outcomes on those, and I'm like ready. It hurts when that's honestly another thing about, it's a lot more nerve-wracking to do an elective operation than it is to do a trauma surgery procedure. I don't think anyone maybe talks about that or thinks about that. When I go up to you and you're like, doc, I got this little hernia here, okay? And you take them to surgery, and they come out on the back end worse off than when they went in, it's not good, right? It really makes you like, that's why surgery is the most humbling thing too that you could ever do. Because man, like when an elective case doesn't go the way you want, whereas trauma, you're like, listen, we're doing the best we can do with the current situation. So yeah, I mean, that's just like you can't celebrate the big wins because there's always something around the corner to get you. And that's what makes it humbling, and that's what makes you learn every day. Like literally, I learn something every single day. But burnout, I think, is that whole concept of like no matter what, medicine, not medicine. It's like, do you feel rewarded for your skills and what you're doing? And again, with the whole wave now of artificial intelligence, a lot of jobs that are just kind of those, I don't know what kind of job you want to call it, but if it's like a data crunching type situation, like there's a lot of things that are going to be absorbed. However, I feel like a lot of individuals that have jobs that can be absorbed like that maybe don't get that. Maybe that's where the burnout comes from. So there's just so much debate out there in the internet world and in the real world here with like, is AI going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And you can go in all sorts of different directions with it. But maybe one of the good things about it is it will absorb jobs that have high levels of dissatisfaction because you're like, I could just do it in 2 seconds on my phone, versus all day data mining and doing this like nonsense that like I'm not getting a big reward out of. So
I think part of that's like internal and external motivation. Like you were talking about how they don't feel compensated. Like they don't feel adequately compensated. So that's the financial aspect, right? So people are
like
going
external.
Correct. Versus you were talking about skill set.
Yeah.
And that would definitely be more internal.
Yeah.
I mean, to a certain extent, external as well. But it's also like something you want to do and something you want to learn. So I think that's a big aspect.
So you're saying like if these two aren't communicating with each other is what'll result in a disgruntled
or
person.
Also that people who are more externally motivated will experience burnout more frequently than people who are more internally motivated.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll take that a step further to another idea is dating, if you will. So I always say you have two brains, right? You have your cerebral cortex over here that's like thinking and making like active decisions versus I call it your lizard brain, which is like essentially what? Your limbic system, if you will. And dating is like a silly example, but that I think is the reason why, to me, it kind of is this same idea where it's like this yin and yang, where if you're dating somebody and like they don't have the same aspirations as you, they're like you're type A and they're type B, like there's all this like thought process that goes into it, like what their career is, versus then like lizard brain is like, oh, like I'm like attracted to this person,
or
okay?
They make me laugh or happy.
Something.
Like
this is just like autopilot. Like you're not making that decision. Like your brain is like telling you, And I always would say like if these two aren't in like, because I think we've all been in situations where you're like, maybe you're like super attracted to the person, but like you're like, dude, this person's terrible. Or vice versa. Then you're trying to talk yourself into liking somebody. But then your lizard brain is like, oh, hey. But that's the same concept here. And it's the same concept with a job. It's like, do I like this job because I'm a doctor and my mommy and daddy are like Michael's a doctor, yeah. Or do I actually like being a doctor? Like me, being a surgeon, not only is externally, like people are like, oh, he's a surgeon, that's pretty cool. But then internally, I have the goosebumps because this just gets to me. It's like internally, like I am a surgeon. Like that is me. That is my ego. Like that, if I didn't have that, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to navigate the world. It's such a part of my existence and my being as a human, as a soul, that like if you took that from me, I would feel naked. And so both communicate well. So for me personally, I can walk around the world and be like, yeah, I'm a surgeon. And people are like, oh, that's kind of neat. Like you save people, yay. And then it makes me feel good, yeah, oh, yay. But then like inside, I'm like, yeah, I'm a surgeon. Like that's what I do. I own that. I own that skill. And again, zombie apocalypse, they'll be like, keep him, keep him. So yeah, I think that's an interesting topic that can, because you could be burnt out in a relationship too, and it's maybe those things aren't working, aren't communicating. You're I don't know, I was watching Love is Blind last night. It's like trying to convince yourself to like this person. You're like, damn it, no, I don't like them at all. Like, blah, like it's just, that's life, man. There's a lot of chemicals going on here, for sure.